Oh man. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Lou. You are listening to the Raptors Reaction Podcast. After the Raptors throw it back to 2002 by losing to the New Jersey Nets tonight, 96-81. That's right, in the year 2025. About a week before 2026, Raptors only scored 81 points. I think people are obviously gonna ask, like, is this gonna be another crash out pod? Saw some reaction online about, oh, Will crashes out. Will crashes out. Okay, you know what? I think my commentary on the game is this actually.
I think we did outstanding job guarding this team.
Let's hear that again.
I think we did outstanding job guarding this team.
Well, I mean, I don't know how else you could really come away with a different takeaway. Raptors did a great job defensively, 96 points. Last night after holding, you know, the Celtics to 30% shooting. Toronto does slip up a little bit, hold them to 40% shooting this time. But ultimately, 96 points is an incredible job. So just an outstanding game by the Raptors. Another one where you could definitely feel really proud of how they competed tonight. And yeah, let's not look directly at the problem. Let's not look at the problem. Look, obviously, all bits of sarcasm aside, the Raptors really continue to struggle offensively. Ever since RJ Barrett's gone out the lineup, the Raptors went from being. It's hard to remember this at this time, but the Raptors are actually quite a good offensive team. Efficiency wise, they ranked strong. It wasn't even just that they were good in transition, but they scored really well in the half court. And since he's gone down, the Raptors have literally slipped to 30th in offense, and it's not even small sample size or anything like that. Like it's pretty clear. Now the good thing is, RJ did do some pregame workouts and stuff like that. So, at the start of this week, it was reported that not reported, it was announced by the team that RJ was progressing well after getting PRP injections into his ailing knee, and that he would have some sort of return to action this week to basketball activities. Obviously, did not actually result in returning to the game itself, but he did ultimately warm up. So hopefully there is some progress on that front. It obviously doesn't help that Jakob Poeltl continues to be out the lineup for the most part. Jakob, after not playing the last two games, due to just resting the back, gave it a shot tonight and literally lasted one quarter. Jakob was able to play 6 minutes tonight. Made a reverse layup. Fumbled the ball out of bounds at one point, trying to force a pass, and that's it. One quarter, he was done. Clearly the back's not right, and I know Darko said yesterday about, I think it's not going to be a long-term issue. After a couple weeks, we're not going to be talking about this. I'm not totally sure how I'm going to trust that. First off, just based on the other commentary, I feel like I'm not entirely taking everything said in a press conference at face value. After another outstanding performance by the Raptors, of course. But yeah, like Jakob's back's been messed up for a while now. It's been this way since the start of the season. This is the longest break that they'll have outside of All-Star weekend. So yeah, it's clearly a problem. He gave it a shot tonight. I wish he even didn't. Honestly, like had I been able to do this, with perfect hindsight, and of course, that's something nobody has. So I'm not holding this against him, but you had a real chance to give Jakob like 2 weeks off, basically since the play-in game, which was December the 9th. The Raptors have played 4 games since. They've gone 2-2, and realistically, Jakob's missed what, 2 of them, and then today, actively missed today as well. If we had just straight up said to Jakob, like, stay home, stretch, get massaged every day, go in the cryo chamber, like whatever you need to do, but just sit out for the next 2 weeks. That would have been 2 weeks by now, right? And of course the Raptors have gone 2-2 with them anyway. Like it wouldn't have changed much in either of those 2 games. But in any case, very unfortunate the Raptors are down 2 starters. However, the rest of the team, offensively, man, it is just such a struggle watching this team right now. Again, like 81 points is not enough to win almost in any era, but especially in this one. It's hard to even pinpoint just one area of weakness for the team, really. Obviously, the three-point shooting is not ideal. Teams are definitely packing the paint a lot against the Raptors. You're seeing a lot more zone against the Raptors, particularly against the Raptors' second unit. I don't believe the Raptors can shoot their way into the game. And quite frankly, that's a good bet. Last night, actually, the Raptors shot decently from three, with both Brandon and Mamu being hot from three. They weren't even in the game. However, the Raptors, by the way, the defensive effort from line was outstanding. Let's just hear that.
I think we did outstanding job guarding this team.
So, like, in any case, yeah, offensively has been a struggle, man. Offensively has been a real struggle. I think that at the start of this game, Brandon was kind of the one trying to lift them. But that kind of only gets you so far. Brandon Ingram by himself is not going to be like an effective offense just by himself. Brandon's the guy you go to for buckets, and the 3-point shots come around for him. That's been good to see, because that was out for a while. But there is a limit to sort of how much Brandon can give you. Brandon gave you 19 points tonight, 7 and 18 shooting. Some of that was dragged down by a couple 4 shots towards the end. Ultimately, a lot of it was forced, right? I think more concerning is the lack of production from Scottie Barnes offensively. To be clear, Scottie's had a really nice season to date, but I do think you see some recurring issues with Scottie. And I'm not saying this is a character judgment at all, because this is just basketball, but he gets really passive. And this is something that has been a pattern for pretty much ever since second year onward. First year, I thought he was like pretty aggressive, but also like the team wasn't really shaped up for him to be the one with the ball most of the time. So being aggressive, crashing the glass, being aggressive in transition, being aggressive as a secondary ball handler, like all that. But seems to be, promoted into more of a primary thing. We do see this pattern where he gets kind of passive. Tonight, 3 of 10 from the field, 0 free throw attempts. Created 1 assist for the team. Minus 22 for 6 points. Like, it doesn't really matter what you're doing defensively. And this one, Scottie was fine defensively. Certainly wasn't a shutdown effort. But it's just not enough, And I do think that, like, especially this becomes a bigger problem when it's Scottie and the bench, which those minutes have been just catastrophic the last couple of games. So that's when the Celtics took their big lead in the first game. The Nets also ran up the score a little bit when it was Scottie and the bench in this one. As much as a free-flowing offense and it's supposed to be equal opportunity, whatever, but, fundamentally, star plus bench lineups are meant to be that star leads, star tries to score, star has the floor spread for him, hopefully, and then he attacks until he sees a double team, and then he kicks it out, and other guys are able to play with open shots, because that's just kind of how it is, right? I mean, what Darko's done here is not particularly different to like what Nick used to do, or even what Dwayne Casey used to do with like Kyle and DeMar, which was just like, yeah, like one of them's going to sit, and then it's going to be DeMar plus bench or Kyle plus bench. What can happen though in that stretch is when the star player doesn't look to attack, or the star player is mostly settling for jumpers and not even making a move towards the basket. Like, it's pretty easy to defend that. And as much as Scottie started the season shooting well from the mid range, shooting above 40 from 3, we still know that ultimately, like, that's not what he's primarily that effective at, right? Like, realistically, he's effective mostly when he goes downhill and uses his touch and size. And it really can't be overstated, like, how big Scottie is. Like, Scottie is a huge guy. Like, the one time I saw Scottie take a strong today, he took it to the basket, no problem, finished it, right? But that intent to score just is rarely there. And I think it becomes really, really exacerbated in a time where we don't have RJ, and he's the one guy who's touching the paint most, especially from a live dribble or cutting from the top of the floor. Like, he's just in motion towards the basket, and he's relentless going to the hoop. But yeah, like, you're especially in a time when he's not there, you have to substitute that in some way, and Scottie just has not been able to do that. Has not even shown particular enthusiasm to do that. And when this losing stretch started, I thought Scottie played outstanding in some of those games. Like, I thought he played really well against Boston the first time. I thought he played really well against Charlotte in the overtime loss. Like, there were some games where I was like, get Scottie some help, And of course, like, players are human beings. Like, guys are gonna have ups and downs. Brandon has struggled for a while. Then Scottie's struggling now. It's like, people will take turns. But I do want to see, like, not empty the clip, but like even just 10 shots on a night where, again, the team only scored 80 points. Like, nobody was hot. Like, you just can't step back from it, right? Like, the team is in your hands. If Frodo stops walking towards Mordor, all of Middle Earth dies. Like, it's not fair to Frodo to walk across Middle Earth, but man's got the ring, and that's the task. So you can't just like say, it's not my night, I'm going to step back. Like that's the one thing star players do not get is that ability. Now, granted, like you might say, well, teams are zoning, teams are throwing extra bodies at him. I wouldn't even say that the extra bodies part is particularly true. I mean, certainly if he's going to drive, obviously teams are going to help in the paint. That's what everybody is. But I don't even see enough of an intent to draw that crowd. Certainly, again, the Raptors weren't shooting well tonight, but it wasn't like Scottie was creating that many advantages out there. And by advantage, I mean mostly he's drawing 2 defenders and someone's open. Like, that's not what's really happening out there. And so that's been a struggle. Again, Jakob, just barely is there. Get well soon, Jakob. IQ had a really weird game and ultimately was actually one of the Raptors' best players tonight, probably first or second, really. The first quarter was strange because it was clear he came out with an intent just to distribute. Like, he was turning down shots that he would typically look for. IQ's a pretty aggressive player, just in general. He is a scorer by trade, and so it's very noticeable when he's turning down threes and sort of almost overpassing it, trying to make sure it goes to Brandon, trying to make sure it goes to elsewhere. And I guess I didn't hate the approach because he came out kind of playing like Jamal Shed, trying to use the quickness to touch the paint, making quick passes. And, it led to 4 early assists. He threw a lob to Ochai cutting back door. He found Brandon on the wing for a 3. He found, Jakob rolling, to the basket for his 1 basket. Like, there were like 4 assists, but it was very clear at the start. I was like, IQ's just not looking to shoot. Now I'm like, wait, that's almost worse than him being in a slump because, I don't want to see him lose his aggression and lose his, like, especially for a team, again, that can't score, right? Like, we can't afford Scottie not looking to shoot and then IQ coming out there and not looking to shoot. Like as much as these guys are struggling, like, you have to shoot your way through it and maintain your confidence. The one thing I don't ever blame Brandon for is Brandon looks for his offense, single team, double team, whatever. He's still going and attacking, right? There's a level to the stubbornness that is necessary for a score, especially during a time when the team is not going well. But IQ went from not shooting and mostly setting up to like then starting to like, okay, now I got my guys involved. I got a couple assists under me. Maybe I try to go for a couple shots. And some of the shots were just missing again. He was getting blocked. To be fair, he wasn't taking some good ones. But like ultimately, like, he started getting blocked. And then at the end of the third quarter and the start of the fourth quarter, when it was, strangely enough, and it almost never happens, but it's IQ plus bench. And it was basically IQ, CMB as his roller. I think maybe Mamu spacing out on the wing, and then Grady and Jameson. It was like, okay, well, again, that's basically a star plus bench lineup. Now, granted, I wouldn't say, Quickley's a star typically, but the idea is, okay, we're going to put as much spacing on the floor as possible. We're going to give you a big screener in CMB, and we're going to let you cook. And IQ was cooking for a bit there. Knocked down 2 threes, drove it to the basket for a layup. Even the times when he wasn't scoring, he was creating advantages where he was drawing 2 on the ball and he was slipping it, to CMB rolling to the basket. Help will rotate to CMB at the rim. CMB will make the extra pass out. Jameson Battle will knock it down, or guys will make cuts and stuff like that off of it. Like once IQ's drawing a double team and passing it out, he's done his job. Like, he's done a good job. He's done a very important job that most other guys on the team wasn't doing. But that stretch actually was probably the only time in the game the Raptors looked like they had any life. The Raptors went on a 15-0 run. Actually briefly took the lead there in the fourth quarter. But then, once he got tired and he didn't miss a couple of shots there, that stretch ended. And, they pulled IQ and some of the bench guys out, put some of the other struggling starters back in, and it was basically game over. The Brooklyn Nets, once again, took control and just like easily asserted themselves over the game. Rest of the guys, not much of an impact, I would say. CMB, again, I feel like was pretty prominent. I'm not totally sure why CMB would only play 18 minutes in a game where he's not in foul trouble and Jakob Poeltl's out. And you're dealing with a really physical team in Brooklyn who, despite their record, have actually been pretty strong defensively. Certainly they have the length and the coach to sort of emphasize defense. And, that they've despite whatever you want to say about Brooklyn, and this is one of the most bereft talent teams in the league, still went out there and executed their game plan with some sort of clarity, right? See, they're going to get Michael Porter Jr. off dribble handoffs, to try to shoot as much as possible. And then they're going to have physical defenders who are going to really size up the paint, play zone if they need to, pack it, and ultimately hope to knock it down enough shots. Again, 96 points is not enough to beat most teams. And against most teams, Brooklyn would have lost tonight. But against Toronto, it was enough, and it was a cohesive game plan. They stuck to it all game. I admire them for that. I really do. Like, I actually want to congratulate the Brooklyn Nets for playing good basketball. But why is CMB only playing 18 minutes is strange to me. It's not like CMB played poorly. CMB competing for rebounds, CMB finishing shots at the rim. He got blocked. A lot of Raptors got blocked tonight. Jacoby went for. You remember that Norman Powell steal on Paul George in Game 5 of 2016, and he got on the fast break, and then he like went out for the dunk, almost lost it halfway through, but then just kind of like Supermaned it in. He did that, except there was a defender at the rim. All right, with Norm, he got the steal and he was on the fast break and he dunked it. What Jacoby went for that Superman dunk, there was a bigger player, Noah Clowney, right at the basket, and so it was spectacular to see Jacoby like, oh wow, he's taking full flight. But then it was just clearly gonna get blocked the entire way, and he got blocked the entire way. But yeah, like a lot of guys was getting blocked. Is my point. See, IQ was getting blocked too. So, I didn't mind what Collin did out there, and again, I was confused as to why he played such limited minutes. Sandro went from having a really hot night the other night to having a really cold night here tonight. 1 of 4, only plays 20 minutes. Jacoby got a couple back cuts, which is the primary reason why he got to 4 or 5 shooting. A lot of that was hustle baskets, but I credit him for doing that. And he was disruptive on defense. Unfortunately, that's where the size issue came in. There were multiple instances where the Brooklyn Nets had like their center against the Raptors shooting guards one-on-one in coverage. And, I'm not even saying that these guys are dominant bigs because they're not, but like even a Day'Ron Sharpe, even a, Nick Claxton, they're easily going to score over a shooting guard when they're guarding them one-on-one in the post like that. Jamal couldn't shoot from 3 at all. Couldn't get it going. Threw some passes like all over the place, like threw one to Grady's legs. Grady was 1 of 6 from the field, 1 of 3 overall. He got blocked as well. Disruptive on defense, I suppose, but I don't know. Like it certainly wasn't helping the team. And then Jamison Battle come in the game. I thought he played well as like a weak side guy in terms of getting the ball to him on the outside. Didn't make that many notable mistakes. Could knock down the threes, which is obviously the main thing he's in for. But again, like he was fine. Like I actually thought he was more than fine. Ochai was actually solid, which by Ochai standards is like 7 points. But yeah, like he also again is not a guy who can create offense. Like look, this team just can't score, man. Like I don't know like what else to say. It's not a particularly elaborate analysis. They don't have screeners to okay, maybe let's try to break down why the Raptors are so bad offensively all of a sudden. Okay. Number one, the Raptors, just for me and my own taste, they don't get enough offense from their guards. And some of that is because their point guard play has been really inconsistent. IQ, unless he's hot from 3, is not really that much of a factor offensively. Jamal is most likely going to look up to, set guys up. He's very opportunistic and occasional scorer. So you're not getting plus scoring from the point guard position, especially with RJ out. You're getting like bottom of the league, like 30th out of 30 level production from your shooting guard position, right? None of these guys are a threat off the dribble remotely. Jacoby, Grady, Ochai, Jamison, whoever you put in there, none of them are a threat off the dribble, like at all. They are inconsistent from 3, all of them, to a great degree. Like all of them are inconsistent from 3, and they're also not like above the rim finishers either, right? So they're not exactly like finishing things at the line. So like I know that sounds like a damning sort of sentence, but there's nothing that they're getting at all from the shooting guard position that is even above G League level. Like I'm telling you, if you put AJ Lawson into this stretch, he'd do the same, if not better, right? And that's like the standard. I'm not trying to be rude to AJ, but like, you know what I mean? Like you could pull a guy from the G and do this, which is what's happening. From the small forward position, Brandon, he's the only good thing that's happening for the Raptors offensively, and teams are really keying in on that. To be fair, Brandon isn't always leveraging that attention. Sometimes he turns the ball over in a crowd. Sometimes he plays in a crowd. Sometimes he's not making the extra pass. But again, that's all context. Because if Brandon's not creating and generating the advantage, no one else on the team really is. So he's doing well. I think in a team where it's more functional, I think that he'd be giving you better and even more efficient. But right now, because of how difficult it is, he's forcing a little bit and he's making a couple mistakes. Whatever. Scotty at the 4. I don't know. It depends. Like some games, Scotty comes out and he's super aggressive. He's super dominant. He's looking to get downhill. He's posting up. He's ducking in. He's running the break. He's pushing the break. Like none of that happened tonight. And a lot of that has not been happening recently as well. I think what's the most damning part was when they need him to be a star again with the second unit. He's not even missing shots. Like he's just not like there isn't even the impetus or the urge or the urgency particular for him to look to be aggressive on that front. So that has been a blow. And quite frankly, I think like the ball movement has kind of been like a little bit stagnant sometimes when he's really trying to like get to his spot. But again, you could say that for a lot of guys. And then at the center position, like it's basically just been Mamu, because ultimately, like, you don't have another center besides Jakob. And when Jakob's in the game, he's been limited. And so that's sort of the review of the offense. I mean, you can also look at it in terms of like maybe they run different plays or something like that. Number one, like, a lot of things don't work if you don't have 3-point shooting. Okay, that's just like straight up. Like, teams are zoning and teams are packing the paint against a lot of guys. Like, very few teams would be double teaming in the mid range, but against the Raptors, feel free to double team in the mid range against Brandon Ingram, right? So, number one, the 3-point shooting has just not been good enough to warrant any bit of a threat. Number two, because the Raptors guards already struggle with creation, what would really help with creation usually is if you get guys coming off of screens, like a good screen, like give you space, and the more space you have, the more threatening you are, especially if you're an outside shooter. Those screens haven't really been there since there's been no Jakob. You're also seeing teams switch a lot too, which is further negating the Raptors' ability to get downhill and touch the paint in the first place. And so, yeah, I mean, and of course, the other ways you can kind of cheat on offense is by the hustle plays, so the offensive rebounds, or if you're a team that really, draws a ton of fouls, or if you're going to be pushing on the fast break. Raptors aren't really doing any of those. Like, they look particularly tired recently. I mean, today, I understand they got in at 4 a.m. So, like, what are you really going to do about that? But ultimately, yeah, like, they got in at 4 a.m. They're the smaller team. They don't really go for offensive rebounds in a way that feels like it's ever going to win in their favor. Like, they'll crash a guard from the wing, and they'll do that thing where the corner shooter is going to come crash the glass and hopefully stall the fast break a little bit. Or get the rebound, which is the better outcome, but that's, I mean, come on, man. How many offensive rebounds are you expecting Grady Dick to be grabbing from the corner, or Jacoby Walter? They're doing their best. And then transition wise, like, they're not creating enough stops really to sort of get them on the break. And when they are on the break, they also have these weird gaffes, like coming off a steal, Jacoby trying to dunk on a 7-footer, or IQ forcing in transition, or the other games where there's like 2-on-1 fast break and they don't pass it to Scotty. It's like, what are you supposed to do with that? So I don't know. I guess my big takeaway is just like put the Raptors in rice. They had such a hot stretch and now they're in such a cold stretch. Yes, they did sneak wins over Miami and Milwaukee, and that was great. But the last two games this particular weekend have just been like appalling, really. Like, the fact that they lost like that to Boston, they get punked on their home floor. And you would think this is a prime opportunity to bounce back. You go into Brooklyn, and yeah, Brooklyn's playing better defensively, but like, you still play against Brooklyn. You can't really ask for a better bounce back game. And Raptors bounce back by playing even worse. So, aside from all of that, though, I just have to say,
I think we did outstanding job guarding this team.
I just think we did an outstanding job. And on the defensive end, like, what they did against Brooklyn, I mean, that was eye opening, really. So. We're gonna take a quick break. Let's get to some questions once again, and I'll probably spam this Darko clip a few more times because I do really enjoy it. Sorry, Darko. Sometimes we gotta find a little levity in all of it. You know what I mean? If the answers aren't that serious, then they don't have to be that serious.
This segment is presented by Table Fare and Social. Get your pregame bites and after-work drinks at Table. It's at a great location right across the street from Scotiabank Arena and just steps away from Union Station and the Metrolinx bus terminal. Will, what are we having at Table Fare and Social?
Well, they got one of our favorites in the city, Alouette.
Ooh.
And of course, Alouette. Incredible food.
The wedge salad?
The wedge salad, exactly. Imagine you're about to watch a Raptors game, you're about to watch a Leafs game, you're about to catch a concert at Scotiabank, and beforehand, we get together, get a couple of drinks at Alouette, get that salad. We're ready for anything, man.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of options at Table Fare and Social. This is your go-to spot. Next time you're off to a game, check out Table Fare and Social, a downtown food hall right across from the arena for some great pregame bites and drinks.
Okay, we are going to take some of your questions. Again, I'm flying solo here, so give me a couple seconds here just to comb through. I feel like the chat's loving the clip, so that's nice. I mean, like, let me see what we potentially did say on the road. Okay, no quotes yet, but maybe when they put out the post game, maybe we can watch it again as a family. I thought that was a good time yesterday. Not a lot of reporters making on the road these days, but you know, that I think that speaks more to the overall state of media than it does just to the affair with the Raptors. I mean, by the way, we got the comments. Well, we really don't need to go over this game, LOL. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I guess we could just kind of chill out and hang out. You know, I mean, I'm not in a bad mood today. I'm not gonna lie. I was really proud of my boy Jeremy. He got his short documentary screened at U of T this weekend, so I was really excited for him. And so we were out. Me and Alex and friends, we were out there to show support to our friend Jeremy, who's he's always been an aspiring filmmaker, and so it was great to go support him. We also went through hot pot afterwards. My stomach is just also killing me right now. Maybe don't choose spicy hot pot right before doing a post game show, but alas, yeah, I'm just not in a bad mood. So I'm not. Like I said, I'm not gonna crash out after every one. Like I think that there are certain games that I feel like it's worthy to crash out for. This one, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of just sat back, watched it, and I was like, yeah, it's it just is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So, yeah. Let's get some of your questions in here. I appreciate you guys a lot for this one. Okay, so first one, after getting whooped by third stringers, they found a way to embarrass themselves even further by barely scoring 80. Guys, you are not looking at this in the right way. Yes, they only scored 80. However, the other team only scored 96.
Job guarding this team. I think we did outstanding job guarding this team.
So we can't just take the good with the bad. That makes you a bad fan if you only complain about one side of the ball. Like, we can't celebrate the fact that they only had 96 points. I mean, we could put out some stats. Like, how many times has Brooklyn won this season only scoring 96 points? Let's actually investigate this a little bit. You know what I mean? I guess my point is not to mock anybody. I just think that maybe the whole practice of doing a post game press conference is a bit of a farce. You know what I mean? Especially if we're not going to take it seriously. Yeah, Brooklyn this year have never won a game scoring only 96 points. So, again, the Raptors did a great job defending this team. Outstanding performance tonight, right? So let's just make the whole thing a farce. It's fine. I got a couple questions, man. Who would you have the Raptors all-star at this point? I think Bia has passed Scotty, but curious if you agree. If I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know if either of them, given the way the Raptors are sliding, are locks to make the All-Star game or even fully deserving to make the All-Star game. I know this season they've obviously changed up the All-Star format, and so they have to find some sort of way to get to 16, I guess, American All-Stars and then 8 non-American All-Stars. Would I say that Scotty and Brandon have been a top 16 American player this season? I think it's borderline for some of them. I think Scotty had a better case, and Scotty was playing better overall. But they do different things, obviously. Brandon's more of a scorer. Scotty's more of an all-around guy. But I would say Scotty was having the stronger season. I think with the recent slide, I just don't know if it's a guarantee. I think a lot of it is going to have to... First off, neither of them are going to be starters. But in terms of who will make it in from that coach's vote, I think really what coaches look at is winning above all else. So if the Raptors are I would say the scenario for one of these guys again is if they're a 4 seed or better, if they have, again, the ability to bounce back and continue to put together a couple more wins, by the time it's All-Star break and it's that week where coaches get the ballots and they look at who to vote for, at that point, I think that, there is a chance for these guys to go in as a reserve. Of course, there's always injuries, and that could also factor. Obviously, when Scotty made it, he was injury reserve that season as well, so that's a factor too. But yeah, and if I were a coach picking between the two, I think I'd probably ultimately pick Scotty to go to the All-Star game. Yes, Brandon is definitely the better scorer. I don't think that was even in question even coming into the season, and it's played out kind of how we expect. But yeah, I think Scotty for the two-way production is the reason why coaches will put him in the All-Star game. Who of the point guards available do you prefer? LaMelo, Ja, or Trey. Honestly, man, there's something about Garland. I don't know. There's something about Garland that I guess first off, all four of them are kind of in the same tier roughly. I would say a healthy and like focused Ja, which may be more hypothetical than anything else, but he has the most potential out of all of these. I love LaMelo's passing and overall playmaking. Trey actually probably is more consistent than all three of them right now, but he's been injured, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. But Garland, oh man, Garland's been a part of a lot of winning, which I definitely take into account. With Cleveland the last couple of years, it hasn't translated to the playoffs, and I mean, let's not look at his playoff performances either. But yeah, I mean, I guess the ultimate point is an upgrade at point guard would really, really help this team. Somebody who can, touch the paint, draw attention, set up guys, make it easier. There clearly isn't a lot of self-creation among the secondary guys. Like the Raptors have truly an astounding amount of non-creators. Jamal, Jacoby, Grady, Ochai, Jameson, Mamu, Jakob. Like all of these guys are non-creators, right? There's really like 3.5 creators in the team, and the half goes to whichever one of RJ or IQ is on that day. But it's basically Scotty, Brandon, and well, I guess is that 2.5? No, that's 3.5, right? Maybe I'll give them both halves and they're technically 3. But like, yeah, another creator would really, really help the entire group. And some of these guys, as much as they have warts on them, they are guys that, can definitely create offensively. I just don't necessarily see how we're going to trade for these guys, especially if we're trying to go like for like and give them IQ. Other teams have eyes. They see what's happening. And a lot of these teams are looking to rebuild. You usually try to get picks or get off salary. You get kind of neither if you give them IQ, right? So, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Actually, this one was interesting. So why can't Mobile play with the Raptors instead of 905? So, I mean, 905, great story. They're 16-0 now. Unfortunately, their record gets wiped. They kind of play an extended preseason, and then they play what is called the G League Showcase, which they're currently in right now. They've won the 2 games, so now they're going to play the final tomorrow. They're going to play against the Utah Jazz G League affiliate team in the finals. But like they've been playing fantastic, and Mobo spent a lot of time with them. Now coming into the season, like I didn't anticipate a big role for Mobo, mostly because they drafted CMB, they signed Mamu, they got Brandon. That's 3 forwards that have jumped them in the starting in the rotation right away. However, what I didn't anticipate, like most people, is that like Jakob's going to be unavailable this whole time, and so if you're telling me that Jakob's not available, you kind of need to call up a big, right? And you don't need to call him up because Mobile is just a standard player. He's not even a two-way guy. He's just a guy that the Raptors have basically said from the start of the season, we're going to ignore you. You're going to sit over here, and then you're going to go eventually go to Mississauga. And I know there's a theory out there that like Mobile is getting a lot of time in the G League to get showcased or get experience. That's maybe true, but I think if you ask any player in the G League, hey, would you rather spend time with the big club? They would rather do that. And I think with Mobile, it's like the team clearly needs to play bigger and needs to play with more an ability to rebound, more of an ability to guard one-on-one matchups. And yes, they would really suffer with another non-creator and a non-spacer in Mobile, who may not even have a role playing next to CMB because there's too much overlap in terms of what they do right now. But, I think it's kind of just like you're getting a clear message like, yo, we don't want you. When, like, again, our center is out and he was the backup center last year, and then we're like, we don't even want you to be with the team. Like, not even get a chance to get in the game. So I don't think he's going to be, like, a huge savior either, but I do think it kind of really shows that, like, hard no, that we don't want you on the team. Like, it's kind of incredible, man. It's borderline, like, not disrespectful, but it's like it's like as clear cut as it can get. Like, you're just not part of this, which is unfortunate because they did take the 31st pick on him last year in a draft that did have decent players in the middle of it. And also at the same time, I just feel bad for anybody who's on their second year of a rookie scale deal and they're like straight up not even getting a chance when the chance should be there with Jakob out. Like last year when Jakob was out, like Mobile actually started a handful of games. Last time the Raptors played Brooklyn with Mobile, he had a triple-double. Now granted, that was the end of the season, but like, you know what I mean? Like, if I were Mobile, I'm like, okay, the Nets are coming, Yak's out, what am I going to do? It's like, no, man, you're going to be in Orlando playing the G League Showcase. So, it's tough. so many 4 shots. Nobody flowed to the offense at all. I will give the credit to Brooklyn's defense. Actually, this is my comment on Brooklyn's defense.
I think we did outstanding job guarding this team.
I think that's exactly what Jordy should be saying about what Brooklyn did on the defensive end. They did a really good job guarding the Raptors. They have size. They leveraged it well. They put a lot of pressure on Brandon. They sent extra bodies at him, knowing that there's going to be, once Raptors start missing shots, there's going to be a lack of trust, and Brandon's going to force a couple more. That kind of exacerbated the problem and played right into Brooklyn's hands. They took away the rim. They obviously know the Raptors can't really score the second unit. They don't really have much threats to dribble the ball and attack, so we're going to play zone. And I think a lot of that is just the Raptors don't get into the paint very often. I mean, that is like so much of what teams, I mean, all basketball really, you definitely need guys to touch the paint, even in an era where we're shooting the threes. What opens up good 3-point shots is guys touching the paint, putting the defense in rotation. Raptors don't really do that. A lot of that is just not having strong ball handlers. Like the Raptors are just like one of the worst teams in the league. They must be at attacking off the dribble. I know Darko kind of really hates attacking off the dribble and would prefer movement and cutting and passing. And like, again, theoretically that maybe makes some sense. But I think overall, like the team is not only built with a lack of like strong on-ball creators, but also just like straight up, they kind of like hate kind of just clearing it out and spacing it and playing simple, quote unquote. But yeah, like we don't get into the paint much. Like Scotty kind of like dribbles to a standstill and then maybe tries to muscle something. Brandon isn't the strong dribbler at the moment this season. I wouldn't really categorize him as that. He certainly has a good handle, but teams really dig into him a lot. So he's not always getting to the rim, although today he actually had a couple nice finishes, but ultimately like that's more of a balance, right? He's obviously definitely more liable to pull up from mid-range. And then I think most damningly, it's like, fine, maybe your forwards don't get to the basket at will. Like, we don't have LeBron on the team. Okay, so what's the big deal? The thing is the guards don't do that either, right? So, IQ, one of the things is he comes off the screen, takes 2 hard dribbles, gets cut off, and then picks up his dribble and resets. It's just like, it's almost like hardwired program to him. Like next time you watch the game, like just take account, like literally take account of how many times he comes off the screen, takes 2 dribbles, gets in the middle, gets stuck, pivots, looks for a shot, doesn't get there, and then kicks it out. Like, and that's the thing. Like, there's just not a lot of like getting guys into the paint, scrambling the defense, and then getting guys open. Some of these like players on the Raptors, their profiles as like non-creators. Like, I feel bad for them because it's like nobody's creating for them. Like, that's their job is. Well, part of the thing is like they're just not good at it. Well, there's also nobody helping them with it because nobody could really dribble and attack with a live thing. You know what I mean? So it's It's been tough, man. It's been tough. We have $5 sent into the chat, courtesy of Caveman93. So I appreciate you. We have to view Scotty in the same light as we view Iguodala or Draymond. Flat out, just not consistent offensively. Has never been number 3, not a 1 or 2. I think that again, some of this maybe comes down to like mentality. I might even try like a different coach that plays in a different way. Just to sort of like, not to play in a system and just more of like a, here's the ball, you have it, go figure it out type of coach. There certainly are coaches that take that approach. They're very, out of trend in today's NBA where everyone wants to be a passing hub and DHOs and flow, whatever. But like sometimes, there are still coaches out there that like give you the ball type of coach. Like Tibbs will give you the ball type of coach. Dwayne Casey was to give you the ball type of coach, simplify the offense. But in any case, like I think with lots of opportunities provided and, there we see flashes, and that's why this discussion continues and it's so interesting. It's like obviously there are flashes where Scotty takes over. There's been a lot of games this season where he's done that. But I think in general, it's not the same mindset to score the same way that you would need most of your number 1 or number 2 guys to have. And of course, it's like you could say, well, the luxury is like sometimes you don't always need to be the one scoring, but then you should be like a Jokic level playmaker or like a Magic Johnson level playmaker or someone who's creating that many advantages for your teammates, and that's also not something that he does. And so ultimately, like sometimes he can be a number 2, but I think maybe on average, he's more of a 2.5. That's what I would say. But yeah, there are certainly inconsistencies, and the Raptors struggling on offense right now. Like again, like in a different world, like RJ goes down, somebody steps up their production. You've even seen Brandon try to step up his scoring, and today was his first off game in a while, but like, you still see Brandon's like, okay, I'm going to take more shots. No problem. I'll do it. I just don't see that same level of like, I'm going to take that on as everyone else. Right. So, Okay, there's a little pushback to what I said about Mobos. Someone said they're in their playoffs. I think it's disrespectful to him and the 905 to take him away for the biggest games of the year. I expect him there on Tuesday in Miami. Honestly, that's fine with me if you want to like prioritize a chance to sort of like compete. The thing is like they're not really in the playoffs. They're kind of in the in-season tournament for them. And maybe that's enough. But I think that even prior to when they were in their playoffs, like this is just like they sent him to look. Yaka's missed time with the back injury, not just today, but like consistent for the last 2 months. And sometimes they call him mobile, but a lot of times, even when they call him up, they don't use him. Like basically, I think it's pretty clear they had no plan for mobile at all this season, or they planned for him not to be there. You know what I mean? And I'm not even saying that like he would change things. I'm not trying to say like, oh man, management's bad or like the coaching's bad for not playing mobile. I don't think mobile is going to affect that much, but I do feel like, man, he's not even getting a chance, so, cause again, they do need some of his skills at this point. What else? The Raptors don't have an offense, no ball screens at all, no penetration at the top, terrible passing when it's good. There's always one extra pointless pass. Transition scoring is not a strategy. What's funny is, well, not funny. What's ironic is this is the same criticism that was levied at the team when it was ran by the previous coach. It was like, well, they run a really unimaginative offense. And the Raptors do rank high in assists, but again, a lot of the passing is just passing for passing's sake, man. It's not passing to get more advantages, Someone said, do I think Bobby will make a single move come the trade deadline or roll with who we have and what we have? Obviously, it takes two to obviously make a trade. So, that's something that, is not entirely in the Raptors' control, but I do feel pretty confident the Raptors will make a trade. That's not reporting. That's just my feeling. This team is definitely need to ducks the luxury tax. This is not a good enough team to pay the luxury tax for. And also, this team is in need of balance, and any opportunity you have to balance out your roster, you got to take it. And right now, the Raptors have a really unbalanced roster, and you're seeing that. This team needs a shooting guard for a big trade so badly, and they just have not been able to sort of, cope without it. You're not coping around it. You know what I mean? It just what keeps happening. What else do we have? Yeah, Boston replaced their lost bigs with bigs. And that's the thing. It's like, it's not even like, standout bigs like Keita, Garza, Xavier Tillman. But they're like, look, we know we're going to lose some bigs, so let's get some bigs. And by the way, if you read the trade reports, Boston wants to add to their bigs. It's like, it's important. You know what I mean? It's important. So we definitely need size. I don't know how after the championship run has ended, we have said this on every single year of the season, right? Of course, last time we complained so hard for a center, we got Jakob Poeltl in that trade. So, sometimes it is a bit of a careful what you wish for type of scenario. But yeah, I mean, it's just like it's been unaddressed and inadequately addressed for like 4 or 5 years now, right? So, what else? Why did they draft Mobile instead of Kyle Filipowski? Again, like Filipowski was there, Kolek, who was it? What am I blanking on? Oh, AJ Mitchell. Those are all guys that people were mentioned at that time. And these are not like, out of nowhere success stories. Like that was a big discussion at that time. So Raptors need a chain for losing to motivate the team. Like those. I'm not gonna read the second part of the statement, but I guess people in the chat can see it. But I guess this gets to the question of like, how much does positivity motivate people versus how much does negativity motivate people? I think it's fair to say that like both have some value. I think on average positivity is better as a motivating factor, but I don't know if being positive in every instance is a good thing. Like again, if and I'm going to spam this clip again, but imagine we came to the podium again with Darko and he said the same quote he said yesterday.
I think we did outstanding job guarding this team.
You know what I mean? Like it just sometimes it's like it feels weird. You know what I mean? It just doesn't really, because it's not true. You know what I mean? It's just not. So I do think that people definitely respond to different sort of things. I mean, no team, by the way, obviously is going to seriously do this. But I guess my point that I'm trying to extrapolate from this question is like, is there a value in sort of like trying to like, again, be confronted versus like talked around what is not good. You know, like, are we gonna try to find the bright side in everything? Because that sometimes leads you to ignore the very big problems in the room. And I hope they're not ignored. I just hope they're not ignored, right? What else we got here? We need players who can open shots. Sure. What's common between this team and the last coach, Scotty and Bobby? I mean, people are going to turn after winning or losing. It is what it is, right? So I do think that, like, Scotty's not part of the problem. He's part of the answer. That I certainly believe. He's allowed to have off games. Like, we've seen other players have off games. RJ went through a bad stretch. Brandon went through a bad stretch. Scotty's going through a bad stretch right now. The thing is, the team is not built for anybody to struggle or miss time. So, yeah, I guess that's more on management than anything else, right? So, yeah, Boston is very well coached, surprisingly well coached. Yeah, I think that, like, I saw people being like, yo, I don't know if, like, you know, what is standards having mean? I mean, standards means if you don't play at that level, you don't play, right? At a certain point, that's what that means. And Boston has made it very clear their whole entire environment is incredibly competitive. I'm sorry, you just won't find the same, like, quotes that out of, you know, Joe Mazzulla that you would find out of Darko. You know what I mean? You won't find that out of Ime. You won't find that out of, like, and I think for young teams, like, I don't know. I guess I don't entirely know what Mark Daigneault personality is, just because I don't watch enough post-game press conferences with Mark Daigneault. I mean, who really does outside of Thunder reporters? But, like, for our young teams, a non-negotiable has to be we're going to compete really hard defensively. We're going to be physically imposing, and that's how Houston turned it around. That's how Detroit turned it around. That's how OKC turned it around. And even for Brooklyn, like, say what you want. Maybe they're not turning around or whatever. Maybe they're going to try to tank again. But, like, I see from Jordy, man, he's on these guys. He's fierce. Like, that type of, like, attitude and sort of, like, it's anyway, whatever. I'm not saying that we need Jordy Fernandez or anything. I'm just saying that, like, that standard has to be you either play hard defensively or you don't get on the floor. You know, there has to be, like, an or. And I never really feel that. Like, even last night, like, okay, Raptors played really badly. Are there consequences, quote unquote, from game to game? And it's like, no, man, the exact same rotation came right back out. You know what I mean? So it's not like anyone's minutes got changed or nothing. Like, it's the same kind of thing, right? So, what else? The Utes these days don't respond to negative reinforcement. They ain't as tough as us old heads. I think yes and no, though. I think yes and no, because, again, like, we talk about youth like it's a universal thing. I mean, I think just like for any generation, you're going to have people who respond differently to different things. A lot of that really just comes down to the parenting style that they were sort of, you know, brought up with. But, like, we talk about young people not being able to compete. I don't know if that's true. Like, OKC won with, like, one of the youngest rosters in the league last year. Houston's very competitive this year. Yes, because they have some, you know, outstanding vets like Kevin Durant, for example, but they're also mostly young guys. Like, look at that team. It's Amen Thompson in his third year, and you know, Şengün just like the same age as Scotty, and you know, Jabari Smith and Reed Shepherd in his second year, he's hooping now. It's like young guys can play hard too. I think it just, you got to set that standard of, like, this is what it is. You know what I mean? And guys got to play up to that. You know, I don't see the same way from the Raptors. Like, I don't, you know, and of course those guys were drafted way higher, so that's a big factor. But you know, I don't know, like, when you come out, do you see the Raptors playing that hungry? Like, I know that's kind of like, oh, it's always looked down upon. I was like, oh, that's not analysis. I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like, it's not like, hey, they didn't break down this play or that play, but, you know, yeah, like, it's, I don't know, some things are visceral. You know what I mean? I see Jamal Shaw playing hard every game, but, you know, he can't really score, but he plays hard. Today he got a couple moving screens, like that's playing hard. There is a mentality to some of that. Oh, I'm being told that people do see Darko's post game on YouTube, so we actually will get to that. But honestly, even before we get to it, maybe actually as an advisory of before we get to actually watch the, and maybe this is a good time for you guys to leave your predictions as to sort of what the reasoning for the loss is today. But I did want to let people know, just a little bit of advice. Basketball can be very stressful. Okay, we've seen that this weekend for sure. But your choice of beer does not have to be. Coors Light delivers mountain cold refreshment. I could really use a Coors Light right now. I just had Hot Pot. It would soothe me so nicely. But this game was a struggle kind of all the way throughout. Raptors only scored 81 points. And, I think that making the chill choice tonight might have just been to relax, maybe even watch some other games, football, maybe watch a little football, maybe watch a little movie, maybe just finish up your holiday shopping before Christmas. You can make the chill choice all the time by going with Coors Light. And of course, when the mountain turns blue on the can, you put that thing in the fridge and then you wait a couple minutes and you see that mountain turn blue, which is very cool. That means that the beer is as cold and as refreshing as the Rockies themselves. So when the game heats up, why not make the chill choice by grabbing a crisp, refreshing Coors Light? Find Coors Light near you. Visit CoorsLight.ca. Celebrate responsibly. Must be of legal drinking age. Okay, it's time now. Let's actually go watch the press conference. I've been excited to watch, the answers after losses. By the way, I'm actually, credit to the Raptors because they started actually playing the actual clips after losses. I know for like the last couple of seasons, they've just straight up stopped uploading when they lose, which I feel like, maybe that's not toxic positivity but that's not particularly useful. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I still want to hear from the team even if they lose. I'm not rejecting the team just because they lose. I want to know why they lost. And honestly, even from a reporting standpoint, it's like, I'm not traveling with the team. It's very expensive to travel with the team. Most people don't travel with the team. But I still want to hear from the people in terms of what they thought of the game. The most important people being the ones being in it. So let's watch the press conference together. And I'm curious to hear Darko's thoughts on this loss as well. So let's pull this up to the stage.
I think we did outstanding job guarding this team.
Okay, sorry, that was a troll. Sorry, this is the real clip. Sorry.
Yeah. Before the game, Yak was he went for a warm up. He was feeling good, and then start of the game after like 4 or 5 minutes, he started feeling that his back is stiffening up, and at one point he said that he could not continue. That pain was pretty sharp. That's all I know at this point.
Man, I feel so bad for Yak,
and
man.
we're gonna evaluate and then hear more update.
I know you mentioned this, I think last game, so just want to get more clarity on it. This is all kind of part of the plan where it just sort of, as it comes or goes, like there is that feedback in real time that you can adjust here?
Yeah, well, I mean, we gotta trust his judgment and what he's telling us, and at the same time, he's trying to push through it, and then we'll have more update after we do further evaluation, and we'll know more tomorrow.
And then overall with this game, lack of energy, did you see from your side of just like things started to pick up in the fourth quarter, but what overall was the issue there?
I mean, we kept this team to 96 points.
Oh my
we did
God,
a
no,
pretty
no,
good job,
he did it, no.
defensively.
Sorry. I knew it was gonna happen at some point, man. You gotta find a silver lining. No, Darko loves a silver lining, bro. Hold on. If we missed that, let me turn the volume up. Hold on.
But what overall was the issue there?
I mean, we kept this team to 96 points. We did a pretty good job there defensively. I think they made some very good timely shots from the
He said the
three-point
same
line.
thing yesterday against Boston.
They had 4 threes there that made the swing. Third quarter, we did a really good job. Energy was good.
Yeah.
We made a good run there. Won that quarter by 8. And then in the fourth quarter, we missed shots. It really came down to that. We missed some really good open shots.
What was Michael Porter Jr. able to do in terms of just the shot making? Obviously, there's some.
Honestly, I feel for Darko. Like I do feel for Darko because I don't think it's his fault that the Raptors only scored 81 points tonight. But it is kind of just like, man, like, because again, the thing is, you don't have to always find the silver lining. You could just say like, we didn't have it tonight. We've been really struggling offensively, and we need to find a way to get going offensively. That's on me and the coaching staff and the rest of the team. We're going to work hard to sort of figure out how do we get back on track. We know we can be a good team this season. We've shown that we've won 13 of 14 games, and I know we're struggling right now. But I don't want to find any excuses. It's on us to deliver and find the next man up. Like that's all you have to do at some of this, right? But yeah, it's just it's the finding the silver lining. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to find it in a loss to Brooklyn, man. But okay,
We're highly contested, but where was the success that he was finding?
And he does a good job night in and night out of finding very small gaps for shots to get his shots off. And even those shots that are really contested, he's shooting it at a high clip. And also his pretty big body that moves really well, that cuts really well, and that's creating a lot of gravity towards him. And now that opens up more room for other players on the team.
And then there was a stretch there in the fourth and kind of later in the third where Immanuel was able to get everybody organized. How are you liking just how he was able to set everybody up to get you guys back in the game?
That was the most important thing there, that our spacing was the right one, and we were able to execute our game plan in those stretches. I thought that CMB and Scotty did a really good job playing in those pick and rolls and creating advantages. That was how we were supposed to look the whole night, but we did not.
Coach, you mentioned some of the defensive principles that you would like to see in the game. So, do you think that we are playing according to these principles for this game?
I think it's going to be really hard in any game that you do that over the course of 48 minutes. You're going to have stretches where you really execute those, and that was the case tonight. We did it in moments when we were disruptive and able to create some turnovers. But we forced them into 22 turnovers. We did not do a good enough job of converting some of those in transition. We scored only 17 points, but there were moments that we did a really good job with that.
All right. Yeah, overall, I mean, sometimes I'm like, what's he supposed to say? I for me personally, I just don't think it's like particularly like. I think acknowledging the problem is not great. I'm happy a couple of things. Number one, he didn't bring up the fact that they were on a back-to-back, or that they came in late last night from the airport. Like, that's again, those were the things that people again just don't want to hear over and over again. Maybe some of the phrasing, isn't particularly ideal. But again, like I think for me, this team struggles on defense, and so you would love to see them play with more size. I think CMB could have played more minutes. I think Mamu struggled tonight, especially on the night where Mamu struggles. Like maybe more minutes from CMB overall. Again, only 18 minutes on a night where Jakob doesn't basically play. That hurts. But then at the same time, CMB's not really positive on offense right now. So you also need to see the Raptors put some offensive guys out there, which is usually guards. But the Raptors guards are also like universally bad right now. So I don't know what to say. I actually don't know what to say. Right. So, yeah, it's it was fun to watch it together though. Again, like this one was not on Darko. I don't find this one to be on Darko. I was using the clip as a joke. I hope people found some humor in that. That's all. It's just kind of funny to be like, yo, we got watched at home by Celtics third stringers, but we did an outstanding job. Like it just sounds funny. That's all. Yeah. What else do we need? What else we got? Some questions. Why can't this team figure out fast break finishes, especially when it's 2-on-1? Yeah, that's something that's so strange to me, man. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe... Well, first off, teams don't really have much time to practice these days, just in general. But, like, I don't know if you have to practice something as basic as fast break drills, but why not? I mean, like, sometimes I do find this team just to, like, really struggle. I think, especially on the fast break, guys get so eager to score, especially guys that don't usually score and guys that are in funks that they try to force it. That actually just makes things worse. What makes like a good offense is everyone making the right decisions and taking the right shots, and we just don't quite see that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's tough. At least we found a new video to spam. Nah, I don't think that's fair. I just brought it in for one day. You know what I mean? Like it can't be this all the time. Grady runs the break like Precious, but with none of the athleticism. Oh, come on. Honestly, as bad as Grady is on the fast break, I think actually he's better than Precious. Precious really did have some like strange ones in transition, but we've had some strange transition players overall. Because Gary, as someone pointed out, Gary was also definitely struggling to finish in transition as well. And I never understood the Gary one, to be honest. Gary's not like hyper athletic or anything. He's just like very average athleticism for a guard, but it just felt like he would just like do some really strange finishes at the rim. Like he'll pull out just like ones that don't even feel like it fits the scenario a lot of the time. One of the takeaways I did have actually, and I did like this comment, was Darko kind of reminds you of a walking compliment sandwich. He can't say a negative thing about you without at least two positives. It's honestly infuriating. I think that, like, you know, the classic example of this was, you know, a couple years ago when he tried to call out Ochai Agbaji. He said, I won't ever call you out. I'll call you up. And it's like, that is literally a compliment sandwich right there, right? So, yeah, that's the approach. And honestly, maybe that's what young guys respond to nowadays, but responding is like the players come out and change and improve on these bad habits, you know. And I think on the whole, the Raptors have played better this year. Part of that is because they've had, you know, talent upgrades, especially a significant one in Brandon. But at the same time, I still do feel like, yeah, it could. I don't know. There has to be a response. You know what I mean? Like I think like it would have to be a response. That's all, right? And how you get to that response is not important. You know, in terms of whether that's you yell at the team or whether you know, praise the team and find the silver lining and everything. But the response just has to be found. You know, and I honestly I don't even particularly care how it gets to that point. Yeah. So why does this team seem worse than tanking teams last year? I don't think that's true. I mean, look, on the whole, you know, they've shown that they can actually win, which is certainly something that they never did in the last 2 years. In this current stretch, they're playing particularly bad, and it's the offense, man. It's the offense. Like I not to sound like Darko, but we did do an outstanding job guarding this team all the 96. It's just like offensively, this is as bad as it gets, you know. And I listed a number of reasons, but I think the biggest reason is just like not having size in the middle, and also not having like any good production from the guard positions. Between the point guard and the shooting guard positions, like it's so tough, right? So I don't know. Teams are obviously figuring out like ways to sort of guard the Raptors and be more effective. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to be like, let's maybe send two guys at Brandon, considering he's the only guy who can score. But at the same time, I don't know. I refuse to believe that offense can just generally be this bad. So, when I feel like we talked in circles, I feel like that's probably a good time to sort of pivot and just like wrap up the show. It is also a Sunday night, so I appreciate you guys for hanging out. Let's hand out the 3 stars and the Gerald Henderson Award from tonight's performance. Okay, so silver lining time. Okay, first star. Wow. I'm giving IQ the first star just for making that 15-0 run happen. That was basically just him. So 17 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds. He did play pretty bad outside of that. And the shot making is still struggling. 5 of 16, 3 of 10. But for that stretch alone, I thought that was, again, the best stretch that any Raptor played was that stretch there by IQ. So give him that. Second star, again, I'm grading on a curve here. Probably Brandon. Yeah, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. You know, felt like the only guy who could score for the entire game for the Raptors. And then third star, I'll probably give it to CMB. CMB, 8 points, 5 rebounds. I just wish he played a little bit more, but yeah, no real complaints about the way CMB played tonight. So it's a struggle. That was a struggle 3 stars. I'm not going to lie to you. Not all 3 stars are the same. Your Gerald Henderson Award for who randomly torched the Raps is going to go once again to Egor Demin. It's either him or Noah Clowney, but Demin was able to knock down some pretty big threes, some pretty deep ones as well. 16 points for the rookie in 30 minutes. And I got to say, impressive because, you know, Brooklyn's another team that doesn't really have any dribblers really and like no really strong ball handlers, but they were able to, you know, conk on off offense just with dribble handoffs to MPJ and occasional threes from their wing players. And to be fair, the Raptors were trying to pack the paint, trying to compensate for the fact that they didn't have size in the middle. You'd leave you guys open from 3 and guys were able to knock it down. So, yeah, overall a poor performance, but what can we do? Hopefully we come back to it. Yeah, I'm actually not entirely sure either. I would love for someone who's like a Russian speaker to actually tell me how to pronounce his name. Yeah, I think it's like it's Egor. I know the first name is Egor, but I've heard Demin and I've also heard Demin. So maybe someone who speaks Russian can reach out and let me know how this thing is done. By the way, one last comment on the way out from the franchise, aka Liban Osman. They're about to stop uploading these clips because of you. No, man, come on, dog. That's not fair, right? No, I look, as reporters, don't we want more access? Like, as fans, don't you want more access? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. So, no, I look, I want them to, I want the clips. What I want them to upload the interviews. Like, what's the point of them doing interviews if we don't publish them, right? So, whether they win or lose, we should be publishing these. And I know sometimes they're published on the NBA website, but they're just not published on the YouTube site. The YouTube site has the pretty much all the post games, so like don't pick and choose. Like I like hearing from them after they lose as well. I think it's totally fair. So, there you go. Someone said there's a clip on YouTube of how to pronounce it. It's more like Jyomin. Yo, how is that helping? What's JYO supposed to be pronounced as, man? Jomin? Yo, why are they making this guy sound like he's Korean with the Jyomin name, man? What is that? I don't know. Maybe I'll research the clip and I'll try to get back to this. I do believe everyone should have their name fairly pronounced. I think that's pretty fundamental to basic respect. But in any case, thanks everyone for listening. It's a tough one for the Raps. And yeah, hopefully they bounce back on Tuesday when the Raptors play once again in Miami. Wow, they're always just playing in Miami, man.
I think we did outstanding job guarding this team.